Hey everybody, I'm Dominic Mancini. I'm the owner of Full Empire Promotions, and I'll be the host for this special Q&A with Dee Wallace. I'm sure many of you have met Dee over the years at conventions, and you know how amazing she is. So if you'd like 5 minutes of personal time with Dee, following this Q&A, she'll be doing live meet and greet videos over at Zoom. So if you'd like that, you can go to www.fullempirepromotions.com and click on the store. There you'll be able to go into Dee's personal store where you can purchase your Zoom session, as well as autographs and personal video greetings from Dee. The sales for the meet and greet videos will end in about 30 minutes. So if you'd like one of those, now you can go over and purchase that now. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on our special guest, my friend, client, spiritual healer, the star of Cujo, E.T., The Howling, and too many other films to mention, Dee Wallace.
Hello, my love.
How are you?
Everybody, I'm great. I'm just great in this seclusion area here. But Dom, I'm happy. I'm creating whatever I can create and staying positive, and that's all up to us, right? So,
Absolutely. So how's the weather in California?
oh my God, it's perfect day out here today. It's like in the upper 70s and the sun's come out and the birds are singing, and yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. So I'd like to start off with your background a little bit. You were born in Kansas City, is that correct?
I was born and raised, baby. Never left Kansas till my late 20s when I moved to New York to start my fame and fortune.
When was it that you went to New York? What age? Do you remember?
I was around 27.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah, I started late.
what came first for you? Was it theater, commercials, or film?
Oh, commercials. Um, I went to this open audition. I've been a dancer all my life, so I booked a lot of industrial shows. I was a Kugel peanut. I tied a yellow ribbon around an Oldsmobile and danced across the country doing that. And met this guy at an audition who took me to a Halloween party, and his agents were there, and his agents were Marge Fields, and which was one of the largest agencies in New York at the time. And I just hit at the right time, Dom. I was Midwest and blonde and blue-eyed, and that's what they were looking for. And so they told me they'd like to talk to me, and I went by the office on Monday, and they signed me. Literally had $4.62, I think it was, in my account.
Wow.
When I booked my first commercial. Let me show you what I did. It was for United Airlines, and I did that. I was the friendship girl, and I made $20,000,
Wow.
which is more money than my parents, I think, made in a lifetime. So I was hooked. And I've done over 400 commercials in my career.
Yeah, and you've done over 200 films, over 250 films, which is kind of unprecedented.
According to my publicist, I'm the only living actor with that many film credits. I haven't counted him, Dom. I just want to keep working.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of them I'm really proud of, and there's a few of them I hope nobody ever sees. But, we're people. And I did this one film with Tony Curtis at the end of his career, the very, very end of his career. And this critic in Texas said, "Why would Dee Wallace lower herself to do a film like this? And why would, she's let her fans down?" And I wrote him a letter and I said, "Dude, we're human. I've got a grandmother that I'm paying for, a full-time caretaker to stay in her home so she doesn't have to go into a nursing home. I have responsibilities. I needed to do this picture, and he wrote me back an apology.
Well, he should have.
So it's. I think every actor that you ever talk to, Dom, would probably have several of those pictures or projects that they hope nobody ever sees.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the early you did in 1975 was Stepford Wives.
Yeah.
What was it like on the set? Was that the first time you were ever on a film set?
Gosh, never had that question asked, but yes, it was.
What was your first experience of being on the film set?
Well, it was, I was a kid from Kansas. I just gotten there. I had been there 2 or 3 months, I think. And I was in an office waiting to be interviewed for a receptionist job. And Brian, the director, comes out and he looks at me and he goes back in his office and he comes out and looks at me and he walks over to me and says, are you an actor? I said, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. He said, you want to be in a movie? I mean, this is kind of my life, Dom. You know me.
Yeah.
Things just go, here, Dee, you want to do this? So it was a weird experience being on that movie with those 3 women, all of whom were so different. Tina would not come out without her little parasol over her. I mean, it was like watching a director handle 3 entirely different scenarios, the furthest so
Right.
It was a big learning experience for me. I think I have one line left in it where I go, yeah, I'm the German maid, yeah. And I do have, my background is German, German, Irish, Dutch. So, but yeah, that was my first gig and my only film experience other than commercials in New York before I went to LA.
Right. So you did The Hills Have Eyes. I think that was your first horror film.
First horror film, yeah.
By Wes Craven. Can you talk a little bit about when you first met Wes Craven? What was your first impression of him?
I loved Wes. He was a quiet gentleman. That's the best. He used to be a college professor before he became and he was just very quiet and dignified and knew exactly what he wanted. But I've been pretty fortunate never to have to work with the screamers. I wouldn't do well. I would just close up. I would be a snail that went back into my shell if somebody started screaming at me. Again, really hard shoot. I mean, we did it on a shoestring budget. We all stayed in one camper in the desert and the bathroom broke. So, there's a million stories, the tarantula, and they go, oh, it can't hurt you, Dee. And they put the tarantula on me, and I hear the guy say to the director, shit, did we remember to milk the tarantula because it could bite her? And I'm going,
oh no,
get this on me until somebody decides they milk the spider.
The one word you don't want to hear when somebody puts a spider on you is shit.
Thank you. Exactly. Please don't shit on me, please.
So with the filming conditions, was that film like during the hot summer months? Was it really hot on set? Because I know it was on location.
Well, and we were shooting in the desert. So at night it would get very cold. And in the daytime we would get really, 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 really hot.
Yeah.
So, it was like within, I think, 3 miles of where you could drive before SAG said they had to put you up, or they had to pay for your gas or whatever it was. And it was a long way, Dom, from my home in LA. And I was getting so tired. And my husband, Christopher Stone, at the time said, babe, I know you're not making a lot on this, but you got to stay in a cheap hotel or something, because it was a challenging shoot at best. I spent a lot of time in my car.
I'm sure you had to.
Especially after the bathroom broke.
Yeah, right. The hills had eyes, but they didn't have bathrooms.
That's right. Exactly. They had a lot of shit. We're talking about a lot of shit here today.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here.
So one of my favorite movies, probably my favorite movie that you were in, was The Howling. You remember how you were first approached for that role?
Yeah, I auditioned for it. I went in and auditioned for it. I think I even had to go in for a callback for it. Who would think? And so I got hired, and the infamous story from The Howling is Dan Blatt, our beautiful producer, called me and said, well, we've got a great cast, but we don't have your husband. And I said, well, what are you looking for? Like, I'd read the script, and I'm not a real blonde, Dom.
Right.
And they said, well, somebody really strong and virile, but he's got to have this vulnerable side. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm living with him. But in a second, I said to myself, God, don't say that, Dee. They'll never, ever hire him if they think you're with him, right? It's just a psychological thing. So I said, and all this happened like within 30 seconds, right? I said, there's this guy, Christopher Smith or Stone. I know his last name started with an S. I did Chips with him, and he might be right for it. So they went off and they found him on their own and called him in. He got the job. The phone rings. I pick it up. And Dan Blatt goes, Dee? And I said, hey, Dan. He said, I must have the wrong number. That guy you suggested we hired, and we were calling him to talk to him. I went, nope, you've got the right number. And there was this long pause, and he goes, oh, shit. He said, you're going to gang up on me. But I said, look, you only have to get one trailer.
Exactly.
And ultimately, they were so happy Chris was on set with me, because those were the days, Dom, where I got a little lost in my roles.
Yeah.
And I would really go into La La Land. Well, our final rehearsal in the car, where all the werewolves are attacking the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're going to shoot right after. And I'm like in La La Land, and somebody thought it was really funny to put a blank in the gun.
Oh,
and
no.
the blank went off in the car, and I lost it, rightfully so.
Yes.
But thank God Chris was on the set, because I'm not sure anybody else would have been able to get me back. I mean, I was pretty much gone for 3 hours till I could, you don't do that to an actor when they're in La La Land already. It's just, if you know that something's coming, then your energy gets set for it. But that's, aside from the fact that people can get killed, and did on sets back then.
Right. That was your version of the tarantula.
But yeah, exactly. I have a tarantula in every movie. Thank you. My arm went through the glass in Cujo, but for the most part, The Howling was just a great experience. Loved working with Dan and Joe Dante, and it really was, let's put on a show. I think we did The Howling for $1.1 million. with all those special effects. Yeah, Joe put in a lot of his own money because he wanted to use the old clips in there,
Right.
which really elevated the film considerably. But again, these low budget films, you work really hard, and we would work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. So you can say we had Sunday off, but it's the only day you had to sleep and do your laundry, and
Right.
you know.
Right. What was your first reaction to seeing the werewolf on set? I thought the werewolf looked really good, especially this was before CGI, and then everything was practical and physically on set. So when you saw the werewolf for the first time, what was your reaction?
Well, I saw a head for the first time. The big werewolf that I react to that comes in to attack me, they laid that in weeks after I shot. So what I shot with was Joe going, all right, now he's getting bigger. Whoops, there come his ears. And, and the crew starts laughing, and finally go, Joe, just tell me what the order is, and let me see if I can take it on my own, right? Because it was hard to stay in it while I'm hearing him.
Right.
There go his ears, But I thought the special effects were amazing.
They were great. It was Rob Bottin, right?
Rob Bottin, yeah, very, 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 very unacknowledged.
Yes.
For his work in that.
Yeah, he was great. He also did, John Carpenter's The Thing, which I think is some of the best special effects even to this day.
And the nicest, sweetest man. He's just a sweet, very sweet man.
Yeah. So of course we have to talk about E.T. You did that in 1982 for Steven Spielberg, and I strongly believe it's this generation's Wizard of Oz. I mean, it's
sure.
It's just a timeless classic. It hits every emotion. How long did it take to film E.T.?
We filmed E.T. almost 3 months in Culver City's studios where they shot Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought, oh boy, Steven Spielberg film. I'm in the money now. No. And we all shared the community bathroom, and I said to him, please, can I have permission to at least decorate my room a little bit? Because literally it was like walking into the 1930s.
No.
But again, working with the kids, and how close the boys and I are.
Yes.
It was just kind of working with a big family. And the beauty of doing ET was we got to shoot in sequence. Out of my over 200 film credits, it's the only movie that was ever shot in sequence.
Wow.
And I think it helped the kids a lot.
Yeah.
Everything was on sound stages, so it was easy to control everything. And it just really helped them to build the emotion and the relationship.
Yes.
Of course, Drew Stephen, the second day, found Drew over talking to ET. So he had one of the guys on the hydraulics. Somebody was there to work ET all the time in case Drew came over to talk to him, which I thought was incredibly sweet and smart.
Right.
Yeah. But, I remember that the scene where ET's dying, and, she was 4 years old, and they don't understand the difference between reality and fantasy at that age a lot. And so I went to pick her up, and I said, okay, Drew, we're going to go do the scene where ET's dying, but he's just acting. He's not really dying. He's acting just like we act. She
Right.
looks at me and she says, I know, Dee, do you think I'm stupid? So I pick her up. We walk in. She takes one look at E.T. on the table and goes, what? Dee's dying! And Stephen's going, roll it now. You know, so it's from there to there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but
Well,
she totally forgot that it was all imaginary.
yeah, all the kids did a great job. Movie.
Oh, beautiful jobs. Beautiful.
You remember the first time you saw E.T. finished? I think John Williams' score added so much to it. Do you remember the premiere, who you were with, and what your reaction was to seeing it for the first time?
Well, the first time I saw it, Dom, was at Universal, and I snuck in. I was invited, but I snuck in the back and watched it with a bunch of suits from Universal, all of whom were so afraid to react because what if their boss wasn't going to react the same? I left that and I went, oh my God, what happened? They didn't like it. It doesn't work. And then I do remember when I saw it at the Cinerama Dome, and I stood outside in line with everybody else, along with 5 of my acting students. And we all went in to see E.T., and then I really saw the movie. When you see it and you feel what that movie does to people and the emotion it invokes and how it opens people's hearts, it's an experience. It's not a movie.
Yeah, it's timeless.
It's around. Yeah, that's why it's timeless. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think your greatest acting performance was on Cujo. You know,
Thank you. It's my favorite film.
Yeah, I mean, I still wouldn't trust you with a baseball bat.
Yeah, I'm pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
My daughter can tell you, don't get on my wrong side.
So is it true that Peter Medic was the original director?
That is true. He was hired. There was a big change in the studios and everything. And so I never had any meetings with him until I flew up to shoot. I met him and he said, well, let me see what you're wearing. He said, oh, no, that's not going to work. No, she needs to be in a see-through blouse and no bra. And I went, say what? And he said, yeah. This whole movie is sexual. And I said, excuse me. I went to Dan Blatt and I went, did anybody have any production meetings or anything here? Because Dan, this is not what you know me. You've worked with me. You know me. This is not who I am. This is not the actress I am. This is not what I'm known for. Not doing this. And he said, what? So there was a big meeting, and Peter, I think, didn't want to do it. And Peter's a brilliant director. We all know that.
Yes. I love The Changeling film he did called The Changeling. He did a film called The Changeling with George C. Scott.
So many great films. But there was just a difference of opinion in Cujo. Yeah. So Dan, when it had been with the other studio, had worked with Lewis, and Lewis had done a lot of work on the film. Mm-hmm. And so he got permission to call Lewis, and Lewis said, yeah, I'd love to come on. So he did, and Lewis and I were still close friends. We just saw everything through the same lens and the same perspective. And, you know, Cujo, guys, was the hardest thing I've ever done. mentally, physically, spiritually. The hardest thing I've ever done. And not to have a director as kind and loving and supportive as Lewis would have been a nightmare for me.
Right.
I needed all the support I could get on that set.
Yeah, it seemed like an excruciating shoot for you. I mean, it seemed exhausting.
Oh my God. It's, they treated me for exhaustion for 3 weeks afterwards. I'm still on adrenal supplements because I totally blew out my adrenals. It's interesting, and I bet a lot of the fans don't know this, that your body doesn't know you're acting. Your body chemistry goes through exactly what it goes through if you're really in fight or flight. And so, 8 weeks of, that's all I did was fight or flight. How much do I break down? When do I break down? How do I break down? How do I stop myself from breaking down, And another great story from Cujo is, that scene where Danny starts yelling he wants his father. And I take him by the shoulders and all right, I'll get you your father, right? Well, Dan came to me the day after and said, Dee, I need you to look at the dailies. He said, it's a really powerful scene. You're awesome in it, but we're afraid that the audience isn't going to like you. I said, okay, I get that. And I looked at it and I said to him, Dan, if you don't keep this in, you're crazy. There's not a parent in the world who hasn't even either done this or felt this.
Right.
There isn't a parent in the world who hasn't been pushed to that point of desperation that they overstep a physical boundary with their kids.
Yeah.
Although I must say, I never overstepped any physical boundary with Gabrielle. And so, of course, when it came out, that's one of the scenes that all the critics commented about.
Yeah. By the way, Danny Pinturo is watching us. He says,
oh, I love you, Danny. I love you so much. I want to hook up and do another con here when we get going.
Hopefully soon. Or maybe we can do a Cujo panel on this someday. Bring everybody do a live Cujo panel.
And and Danny's heard me say this a million times. I got up every day and thank God that I got that kid for that role.
Yeah, he did a great job.
It was just you, me, and the dog, baby. You, me, and the dog. And you were like working with an absolute adult professional. You were my blessing in this film.
Yeah. I think he needed adrenals after that too. All the screaming.
Well, kids. It's just all play for kids. So that big scene where he can't breathe, right? And like Drew, I'm trying to mother him, and he said, "Oh, Dee, I'm not afraid of doing this. This happened to me when I was little." He's 6, right? He said, "You want to see?" And he goes right into it, and I go, "Okay, don't have to worry about Danny."
You got it.
He just was always there and present and full of emotion. And thank you. That's all I can say, Danny. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Lewis Teague did a great job, and I think having met Lewis, I think you guys are both drinking from the same fountain of youth.
Yeah, he's amazing, isn't he?
Oh, what is he? He's 80, I think now, or over 80, and he's
and
amazing.
So intelligent, good looking, sexy.
Was Stephen King on the set of Cujo? Did you see him and Lewis collaborating on anything? Or
Stephen came down, and I briefly met him the first day. Like I said, I literally, in my memory anyway, Dom, I had like a day before I started shooting. And I remember Dan sent a little plane to take us from here up to Mendocino. Again, thank God that Christopher was with me, because I probably would not have stayed on that plane. But I don't know, there was, sorry.
It's okay.
I just always felt safe with Chris.
Yeah, of course.
Now in Poland, when they dropped us off in the middle of the night on a corner and our ride wasn't there, I thought, I'm okay, I'm with Chris. You know, he was my rock.
He was your stone.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you are always so funny, Dom. Yeah, he was my stone.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten to meet him. You know, he seemed like a really nice guy. You know,
Beautiful man.
Yeah.
Beautiful man, gentle man. And he played all these, you know, tough guys, but
Yeah.
he was a gentle giant. Yeah.
Yeah. So Critters came in 1986. At this point, were you just tired of dealing with angry, hairy things with teeth?
No, you know, Dom, I love doing all the highly emotional stuff. That's what rocks my boat.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really good script. And I met the director and really liked him. And so, yeah, and Billy, I loved Billy. What a sweet man Billy was. And we just had a really great time. Again, a lot of night shoots, which
Yeah.
really wreak havoc on your energy, guys. If you've worked all night, and you know, then you have to come home and you try to sleep as much as you can, but your mind goes, hey, it's daytime. You know, my dog would literally get up and walk into a wall. So it was a challenging shoot also.
Yeah.
I'm happy that I met Scott Grimes. We're still friends. I actually brought him in on my series that I did right after that, called Together We Stand, and he got the part, playing our adopted son with Elliot Gould and me.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still friends.
You had a really good cast on Critters. You know, you had Lynn Shay, you had Billy Zane, you had Emmett Walsh, you had,
Yeah.
as you said, Scott Grimes. What was the camaraderie like on set with the cast?
Well, it was great, but you have to understand that they shot all the alien stuff
Right.
separate pretty much from the family stuff. I think we overlapped just in one shooting day.
Okay.
So I didn't get to work a whole lot with Billy. I love Billy now. You know, we do the cons together sometimes, and but that part was shot pretty much with them, and the family stuff was shot with the family.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, the guys, the Chodo brothers that created the Critters did such a great job.
Yeah.
But they really didn't have all of them ready for the first Critters. And so we would be in all this emotional state, and again, I would be having taken myself into La La Land, and I'd hear the guy go, okay, roll them in. And they'd be over there like rolling the critters across the screen. and the big one that I have that great shot of,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have finished. So you see just this much of it through the window, because that's pretty much all they had, right? And then we went in and did a lot of pictures for the press and everything, and they had them a lot more finished.
Right.
But it's okay, roll them in. The magic making movies.
Were you approached to do any of the sequels? Have you seen any of them?
I was approached to do the sequels, but I I declined.
Right. Right. The
It
second
just,
one was pretty good, but
well, I'm sure, the fans love them, but they had elements of it that in there that I just wasn't too comfortable with.
right. Right. So I have to talk about a film you did that kind of went under the radar called I'm Dangerous Tonight.
Oh my God. Really?
I
Okay.
wish it would come out on Blu-ray. I think it's a great film, and it's it was
Yeah.
you were directed by the great Toby Hooper in that
Yep.
film.
I loved working with Toby. And I loved that part. I mean, I got to play that crazy loony part of me that I love to go into. And I got to touch a little on it in the Frighteners too.
Mhm.
But you know, one of my biggest memories doing that was working such long hours that I literally fell asleep on top of a piano.
Oh, wow.
We were waiting for them to set up, and the dressing rooms were far away. And that first AD said, Dee, can you just hang here, please? Because we're on such a time crunch. We're way over. We should be off the property. I just fell asleep on the. I think I was there for about 40 minutes. Actors can sleep anywhere, though, Dom. You know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Anywhere.
Right? Did you get a chance to interact with Anthony Perkins at all on that set?
No,
You didn't
I
get to meet him.
I wish. No.
Oh, that's a shame. He was a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask a personal question because you were in Alligator too, and you worked with you worked with my favorite actor of all time, Richard Lynch. He was my favorite actor, and
Really?
yeah,
You've never shared that with me.
I just everything he's been in, I just thought he was phenomenal. And his first film was Scarecrow, Al Pacino and Gene Hackman,
Yeah.
and I mean that was his first film. But did you get to meet him on the set, and what was your
I
impression?
did. I did. My my biggest memory about Alligator 2 is that Joe and I were in our rooms most of the time rewriting stuff every day. um, just trying to make it roll off the tongue more and,
Right.
build up the relationship more. And yeah.
Yeah, you got through the werewolf, the Kreitz, and the Saint Bernard, and then they said, "We've got an alligator for you."
Dear God, I'll tell you, they say don't work with kids or dogs. Well, I wouldn't have had a career.
Yeah.
Then you add all the other bloody animals that
Right.
I've been saved from, you know. I don't know. It's been an interesting career, Dom. I'm happy that it's still in full swing, and
Hmm.
I've got 3 movies coming out that fortunately got finished right before all the virus stuff hit,
Yeah.
and some top horror actors and I are putting together a little short right now just for our fans to roll out on YouTube or wherever. You're going to love it. It's so much fun, and some great people are coming on board. We're just all doing it for our fans and for a lark. And
Okay.
yeah, it's so look for it.
Right. And of course, we have to mention the Frighteners because I think this is a role where you really got to get out of your comfort zone. Instead of playing the mom, it was a very different part for you. Can you talk
Thank God.
about?
Yeah, thank God. I went to Universal and auditioned for it. Peter Jackson was there, and Michael, um, and I just went. I just freaking went for it, Dom. I threw myself on the ground, and I mean, they wanted me to do the ghost thing, and I just went for it, and I think I got a call before I ever got home.
Yeah, you were great. You were great. I think your character would scare Kathy Bates from Misery. You know?
Yeah, knife to knife, baby. Well, and it gave me such a great arc. And that's what I love to play, those where you start here and then you go all the way over. So I got to play that simpy victim in the beginning and then, come alive and become the murderer and the revengeful. And I love playing parts like that give me that big arc. The Frighteners was an incredibly challenging time for me because Christopher died during the filming of The Frighteners. And first he had a heart attack, so I flew back and he was fine. He came through the angioplasty fine. And so I flew back 4 days later, and then 2 days later, he had a blood clot that hit his heart and passed away. Our little girl found him.
Oh, no.
And I had to fly back again, put on his service, and then I picked my kid and my nanny up, and we flew back to New Zealand and finished the project. Peter said to me at the end, "We never thought you'd be back, Dee." And I looked at him and I said, "I wasn't raised that way."
For sure.
My mom says, "You take a responsibility, you follow through."
Yeah. So in 2007, you did the Halloween remake with Rob Zombie. That started your relationship with Rob Zombie, and you went on to do many of his films.
Yes.
How were you introduced to Rob?
He called me for Halloween, or the producers or casting called me for Halloween. Rob is so wonderful at working with and keeping the icons of the horror world alive, and paying homage to us and using us. And I'm very deeply grateful to him for that. But I also just love working with the dude. I just love him. He's very laid back, incredibly creative, knows exactly what he wants, and yet he gives you an entire leeway to bring in anything you want to bring in your ideas. I mean, in Halloween, all the stuff with Scout with the bagel, it's all improvised when we're screwing the bagel. And the whole thing on the front porch, all improvisation, where I brought in stories about Gabrielle, my daughter, when she was little. And, I just so appreciate that trust and that much room to be creative, and if it doesn't work, you do something else. But man, if it does work, and most of the time it does, Tom, you just get gold stuff.
Right.
And so it's hard for me right now harder for me to work on some television sets because you don't have that freedom anymore. You used to, especially if you were an established actor. You used to have a lot more freedom on TV than you do now. So I'm hoping that comes back after all this.
Let's hope. And one of your recent films that you did was Red Christmas, which is on.
Yeah, I love Red Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea what to expect, when I watched it, and then it was just such an odd movie, but it worked, it was just eerie.
Performances are great, boy. So many great actors from Australia. Craig Anderson directed it. Just again, fell in love with Craig. The first draft I got, there was a kid, a little kid, and that character was the first one to die. And I wrote him back and I said, dude, I don't think you should do that. You just don't kill kids and dogs.
Right.
You just don't. We only got away with it in Cujo.
Yeah.
Because of the relentless 2 hours that came before. And then we got, there was still an uproar from some people about it.
Of course.
And he really took it to heart and took it out. But I loved working with Craig. I loved working with, of course, I knew I loved Australia. I had done a picture with George Miller down there. Loved the people. We'd all take turns cooking dinner for the small crew. That I made chicken stroganoff, right? And I don't know. It was just you felt good being there. Dom. You just felt.
That seemed like a really physical shoot for you as well. You had a lot to do in that film.
Yeah, and I would say, Craig would lay out the scene and I go, Craig, can I take a fall here and maybe do a roll and he'd go, well, can you do that, Dee? I said, yes, I can do that. I kind of took umbrage at that. But, I am an older actress, I guess, if you have to claim that. It just pisses me off right now every time I hear, well, you're in the age range where it's dangerous to go outside. I think, me, Dom, I've got more energy. I think I'm healthier than half the 30-year-olds you work with.
Absolutely.
But I appreciated the respect that I had from everybody on that set. And that's important to me. It's important to know that my work and my feelings and my ideas are important and respected. I think that's important for any actor. That's a part of the creative process.
Right.
It wasn't that whole scene where I go down when I shoot my son because I think it's the bad guy. We didn't have anything in the script where I went to him and I went, oh, Craig, I think you're missing a big moment here that the audience needs.
Right.
And, in a thing like that, it's challenging because you have little money and little time. Mm-hmm. But he said, what do you have in mind? And I told him, and he said, let's do it. And the DP, I want everybody to know that watches Red Christmas. We did that entire film with 3 lights. 3 lights, Dom.
Wow, were any of them red?
And it looks phenomenal.
Okay.
And he handheld the camera, and we got that in 20 minutes. And I think it's a really big part of the film.
Yeah, it is. If you're a fan of Dee and you want to see Red Christmas, it's on Netflix. Highly recommended. But I also want to mention a non-horror show that you're doing recently for Amazon Prime called Just Add Magic.
Yeah.
How many? Was it 3 seasons?
It's a sweet show, yes. Well, depending on how you describe a season. Actually, we did it in 6 different installments, which were not fair to the actors financially. It's a beautiful little show. It's made for kids 6 to 14-ish. Was just nominated for an Emmy. And I play the grandma, my first grandma part.
Oh, no.
And it was tough for me. It was because the whole first season I'm supposed to be under this spell where I can't talk. But nobody was really clear about how to play that. And I had a meeting up front before we started going, okay, I just want to make sure I give you what you want. I can't talk, but I understand everything that's going on, right? And they said, yes, correct. So cut to the first day, the first scene. We do the first scene. They run in and they go, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? They said, you look like you understand everything that's going on. I said, yeah. Isn't that what we had the meeting about? So there was always that kind of lack of communication, and it's hard to play people that can't talk.
Yeah, for sure.
And keep them alive and keep them interesting. So when we got picked up for the second season, I said, I'll come back, but I got to talk, guys. You got to end this spell. I can't do this anymore. They said, we agree. Amazon agreed. Everybody agreed. So
yeah.
So then I got to.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
And recently you came back to the Critter series and did Critters Attack, where you came back as kind of a badass Sarah Connor Terminator type character.
I know. Wasn't it fun?
It was fun. I wish you were in it more, but we talked about that, budgeting.
Yeah. When I got down there, actually the two big scenes that I loved, which really closed the deal for me, they had to write out and lose because they lost the time and they didn't have enough money to do it. So yeah, but it was fun. Love South Africa. You guys, if there's any time you can have an opportunity to go to South Africa, put it on your bucket list, because Cape Town, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Cape Town, New Zealand, Australia, Hawaii. Those are my 4 tops.
Yeah. Now the next Critters movie, I think they need to write it where you're evil and you're actually breeding the critters and you can control them and you can keep them on your enemies.
I don't know if my fans would, we could give it a shot, Dom, but no matter how shitty I am, somehow by the end I come around in my movies.
Yeah, for sure. And recently you did another movie with Rob Zombie, which is one of your craziest roles I've ever seen.
I love it.
3 from Hell.
Yeah, 3 from Hell. I told you this story that a critic called Rob and said, look, I really love the movie and I'm writing a great piece about it, but I see in the written material Dee Wallace's name. Did you edit her out because she's not in the movie? And Rob said, oh, she's in the movie big time. Go back and watch again. I thought that's the best compliment an actress can get,
Yeah.
But I read it, and this is what I mean about how much I love Rob. And so I called him and I said, Rob, I really want to do this, but I can't do this looking like me. I can't. I got to dye my hair like a dark brown. Can I have glasses? Really ugly glasses, and I want to do it with minimal makeup, maybe a little dark under my eyes. I mean, I want her to look like a German guard. And there was this pause, and he went, sounds good to me. I mean, he just has so much trust in your ideas. And then I don't know, the way he shoots, I love working with him. I got to work with Sherry, It was all between Sherry and I. And we had this kind of subconscious lesbian thing going on with each other. And it was, there's such a beautiful couple together. Every morning she brings him his health food shake and his vitamins, and they have their vegan stuff from the caterer, and they're just a sweet, beautiful, loving couple. I really like both of them.
Right. Yeah. He's got a good reputation from every actor I've spoken with. So,
Yeah.
but I do want to mention recently you've been working with your daughter, Gabrielle. What's
Yeah.
that experience been like?
Well, Gabrielle and I, it's amazing. We have some kind of magic switch that, and I think it started when she started acting class with me. And we had this big discussion, and I said, look, you can come in, but I don't play favorites with you. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do. You better freaking do it. And and there was that understanding. And then she directed me in her last short film, which I have to say, as a mother, I was incredibly proud of. And as an actor, I really, really appreciated her professionalism
Mhm.
and how she worked with everybody, including me. There, I play this lawyer, and she wanted me to deliver these few lines really, really fast, and they were really technical, and I could not get them out, Dom, and I got so frustrated. And she was watching the monitor around the corner, and all of a sudden I hear, all right, Wallace, take a breath.
Wow.
It made me start laughing, which I taught her in acting class. If you need to get out of something, just start laughing and you can rebalance. And I started laughing again, and she said, just take a breath. It's all great. Let's just do a pickup. And then we got it because I wasn't trying so hard to get it. And it's a beautiful short film called After Emma. Beautiful, about abuse and how it's passed down.
Right. And I
Um,
do mention your healing work. You do. I know you're a spiritual healer, and do a lot of work with healing. You want to talk a little bit about how you got involved?
well, I'm a living dichotomy, Don. I spend half my life doing horror films and the other half teaching people how to heal themselves from fear.
Hey.
uh, but I know a lot about it. So when Chris died, I kind of fell to my knees and said, I don't want to be this way. I don't want to be pissed off. I don't want to be a victim. I want a way we can heal ourselves. And like that, I heard this message: use the light within you to heal yourself. And I went, and the messages kept coming. And every time I would go to my acting studio, I would start watching people, and I would start extrapolating messages from their energy about where their blocks were. And people's work started changing and their lives started changing. And then they wanted me to work with their parents and then their friends. And here I am 30 some years later. I have clients all over the world. I do 4 or 5 sessions a day.
Wow.
Yeah. And I also have a free call-in show if anybody wants to call in Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific time. You can call in and ask any question you want from the channel and get guidance about where your block is around money or sex or success or anything. Nothing's off the table.
There you go. So do you want to? I know you have Fanboy 13 and The Wailing and a bunch of other stuff coming out. Is there anything in particular that you want to mention that people can look for soon?
Await the Dawn and I worked with Gabrielle in that, and a lot of really great young actors. They're in negotiations for distribution right now. The Bewailing, I don't know what's happening with it yet. I need to email them. And Fanboy 13 is Deborah Voorhees, directed and produced. And I know it's in the middle of editing, and such a unique story. I don't know why somebody hasn't thought about this earlier, but she's literally using real life actors. And the story is that we're all being stalked. by a real life stalker. Yeah, it's a very interesting script, and it's getting a lot of hype on the internet, so I'm sure the fans have heard about it already.
Yeah. And recently, I just want to throw this out in the universe because recently we talked about an actor that you love that you've always wanted to work with that you never got to work with. So, do you want to mention maybe two actors?
Anthony Hopkins, from the moment I saw him, I think I was in my 20s, I don't know. I went, I have to work with that man. I have to work with this actor. And I hear he's the nicest guy. You said Wilford said he was the nicest man, but it's his energy. His energy just draws me in. It's
Yeah,
like I see his soul, you know? So,
he's
yeah.
phenomenal. He is
Are
great.
you listening, universe? I want to work with Anthony.
Yes, and also, you need to get on Stranger Things. They copy
Hey,
off
could
YouTube from
everybody write in? We've been saying this for 2 years, right? So
right. They copy
write
off
in and
YouTube.
tell him.
So there you have it. And we're just going to wrap up, Dee. There's a few viewers that want to ask questions. So there's a couple here.
Sure.
So Chris is asking about popcorn. I'm assuming it's the movie and not the snack.
Popcorn. Oh my God. Popcorn. Okay. Um, yeah. Uh, challenge. It was lucky we even got it finished. We shut down 3 times, they lost their money. Directors changed, producers changed. Um, God, where did we shoot it, Dom? I want to say Puerto Rico, but that's not where it was. Anyway, and we shot in this old abandoned uh, movie house where all the homeless lived.
Oh no.
So you walked in and you almost fell over from the smell of urine.
Oh,
And I got there to do the scene, and let me just tell everybody I'm slightly claustrophobic. Uh, after working in Poland and getting stuck in a salt mine. And I got there to do the scene with the cast. And I said, "Can I see the cast?" And they said, "Oh, well, we haven't made it yet. We're just going to wrap you in it." And I looked at them, I went, "Guys, I don't think so. How am I going to pee? How am I going to? No, I can't be stuck. This is a day of shooting." "Oh, well, we didn't really think about that." So we ended up putting it on me, sawing it, putting on, hinges where I could actually get in and out of it. Um, of course, the cast, beautiful cast, very talented cast.
yeah.
But it was just, I mean, if you really talk to actors about the challenges that happen to them on sets, uh, somebody should just do a book on that, right? All the behind the scenes of things that happen on a horror film that actors actually get through.
Right.
Crazy. It's
Right.
great.
You could write that and call it My Tarantulas.
You're so funny.
So Bob says, do you remember Jean Coulter? She was the stunt woman that worked on Cujo.
You bet I do. And we've been in contact. She's absolutely stunningly beautiful now. God love her. I begged Ann Blatt to do the big scene in the car with the dog, the big attack scene. And he was going to let me do it at the last minute. He said, "No, Dee, you're the money if you get hurt." So this is how well these dogs were trained by Carl Miller, guys. She had a toy around her neck. And when she leaned forward, that was the dog's cue to attack. and she'd pull back and the dog would pull back. I mean, think how much training that goes in to teach a dog that, right? So they do the whole attack scene. They get it in one take. Lewis says, "Great, we got it." And Jean went, "Yes," and came forward. This is how, in my memory, how it happened.
Right.
And nobody had a hand on the dog. And the dog leapt at her and got her nose and bit her nose off.
Oh, no.
And no, she's okay. They grabbed it. They took her to the hospital. They put it back on. And she and I have been in contact. She sent me some beautiful, stunning pictures of her. But she was my rock on that film. You know, I like to do whatever stunts I can do. I did all my own flying in the Frighteners. I took a lot of the fall. I put my arm through the glass that wasn't supposed to break in Cujo.
Ooh.
But Jean really, you know, she would say, "All right, Dee, let me help you do this safely," or "This isn't safe. You need to turn this over to me." And I felt like we were really a close team. We had to be on that movie. It was relentless physically.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And it sounds like if she had any deviated septums, that cleared it up for her.
Absolutely did.
So Rob says, just rewatched her episode of Supernatural. So much heart and warmth and funny as hell.
Oh, I loved doing that episode. Thank you for mentioning that one. Yeah, I loved working with the boys who are just as sweet as they can be. And just the whole, you know, they'd been together for 14 seasons when I did it, 13 or 14. And it was just like a well-oiled machine. Everybody knew everybody's timing, and you know, it was a lovely experience.
Yes. And Mitch's Peleges said, just wanted to say we enjoyed your performances in The Office.
Yeah, as minimal as it was. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And it looks like that's about it. Somebody said, wish there was an ET reunion. We're working on that whenever we can travel again. You know, we have a couple scheduled, but who knows? Who knows when they're gonna, you know, when we'll be able to travel.
Yeah. You should come, because when the three of us get together, it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
I'm still the mother.
Yes, you are.
I still keep my boys in line.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Dee. It's been fun. And
It was great. Thank you, Dom.
I think we covered a lot of your career. I mean, we could talk all day, you know.
Yeah, we've covered the highlights for sure.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Dee, and we'll see you over at the Zoom session.
Okay.
All righty.
Love you, Dom. Love you all. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, guys, there was Dee Wallace. If you're interested in having your 5-minute Zoom session with her, you can go over to www.fullempirepromotions.com and click on the store. We're going to be ending sales in about 5 minutes for those. And then if you purchased yours, you can click on your link that you got in the email, and that will take you into the Zoom meeting with Dee. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.